aside some because it's interfering with other camera. Okay. Yeah, there we go. So figuring something new out this way so everybody on IG can actually see the board in a normal way. Seems a little crooked. That's a little bit better. So, guys, today we're actually going to be going over, is it worth you to buy down points on your loan? So let me repeat that. Today, what we're going to do is go over, is it worth for you to pay extra money to pay for a lower interest rate? Now, for everyone that doesn't know, I'm actually going to give it a minute for everyone to jump on. It's only been 1 minute, so let me give everybody a minute to kind of get on and get going. Today, we're going to be going over some great topics regarding financing and is it worth you buying down points and how you run the numbers to buy down points. So Jess, bring it over a little bit to your right. Yeah, there you go. So we're going to be running those numbers. We're going to figure it out. And now you're going to be able to exactly run the numbers the same way I do. And this is the same thing I'm going to do anytime someone calls me to look into buying a property and getting a new loan. Anytime someone is looking to do a refinance, I run this scenario. And I go through a couple of questions to figure out what is the person's time horizon to determine what is the best way to go. So today, again, we're going to give it a few minutes for everyone to jump on to the live event. I hope everyone's doing good. Now, again, on YouTube, I can actually see the comments, but on IG, I can't see the comments. I have Jez being the moderator, so he's going to be able to see the comments. He's doing this so you guys on IG can see the board normal, so it's not backwards. Christian said, Christian says, hey, how was your day, Pascal? My day was really good. I went to the Dunedin project, framing's going on, electrical, plumbing, stucco, all of that's getting done right now. It's looking great. Went to the historic house. We got electrical going on right now. Electrical plumbing's almost done, so we do insulation and drywall. And then I went to the 16 unit in Safety Harbor, the cottages, and the cottages are looking awesome. We're looking at putting in a fence because of the issue with the city. We have to put up a temporary fence. And we're also getting quotes to put in a permanent fence once the pool is done. And for all those that are wondering, it's about $90,000 for this pool, pavers, and fence. So it's an expensive pool, but it's going to be awesome when it's done. So it's good to see everybody again. Thanks for all the thumbs up. Thanks for all the love. Again, smash the like button so more people can see our videos, more people can learn, and we can all grow together. All right. So I'm going to jump on in. Today's topic is regarding buying down points. Now, for everyone that doesn't know what that means, when you get a loan, either you buy a new property and you get a brand new loan, or you're doing a refinance. When you're doing that, in that process, you have an opportunity to buy down points. So what that means is you pay extra money, and the extra money you pay gets you a lower interest rate. And there is mathematical calculations to determine, is that beneficial for you? At the same time, your time horizon, how long you're keeping the property, is really going to affect should you buy down points, and if you should, how much you should buy down. So there's calculations. Now, if you're planning to keep the property 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, for your whole life, it changes what number is beneficial for you. And that's really what you have to determine, is how long you're going to keep the property, because that's going to determine if it's beneficial or not. So enough said regarding determining timelines. What I normally do and how I normally do things is I actually run the numbers first, and then determine, how long am I actually gonna keep the property? So let's run through some examples, and these are actually current market examples. This example is for a $500,000 property that has a $350,000 loan. The person has above a 720 credit score, and the individual, is a W-2 earner. It's just standard stuff. So again, $500,000 purchase price, $350,000 loan amount, over 720 credit score, and we're doing a standard rate and term refinance, no cash out. Okay, and these are the numbers based off of today's numbers. So I just went into the system and pulled them up. If for those that don't know, I'm a broker, and I used Quicken Loans for these numbers quickly. They're one of the 5 companies I work with. We currently do loans in Florida and New Jersey. We're in the process of getting Texas and California. And after that, we're going to be doing Arizona, Washington, Illinois, Oregon, New York. I mean, we're going to have many states covered. So any of you guys looking to do refinances or purchases, we're happy to help. And for those that don't know, anyone that buys my course, the purpose of the course is to help educate individuals so they're able to buy rental properties and expand their finances. Anyone who buys my course and learns and grows, when it's time to get a loan, feel free to contact us, and we'll actually give you a credit back for the cost of the course. So that's going to be very helpful, because the point is to educate individuals and build their own financial freedom. And along the way, we'll help you with getting the financing for the property. And we can also help you with your taxes and insurance, property insurance, auto insurance. So I really wish you all luck with everything. And let me show you here now the numbers. So in this first example, we're going to go over the start rate right now is 3.5% interest, okay? 3.5% interest. They will pay you $539. You're actually going to get paid to take a 3.5% interest rate. Now, you would think, well, why is that? The reason you're getting paid is because this rate is higher than what the standard rate is right now. The next option I have here is 2.99% interest. And in this example, they're paying you $1,400 for this rate. Now, you would think, wait, you're telling me, Pascal, they're actually going to pay me more money to get a lower payment? And the answer is yes. They will actually pay you more money for this lower payment. The reason being for that is that they know if you get a 2.99 rate, you're likely to keep this loan longer. And there is the people who are buying these mortgage-backed securities, the packages of loans, don't want you to refinance. They don't want you to get rid of the home. They want you to keep that loan forever. And they know at a 2.99 rate, you're a better chance of keeping that loan longer than a 3.5% rate. And that's, you can tell by pricing, is the market's trying to push you towards a certain decision. In the next scenario, you got a 2.69 rate. 2.69 rate means you're going to have a smaller payment, right? As we go down in interest rate, you have smaller payments. At the 2.69 rate, it's going to cost you a one-time fee. You're going to have to pay this. You're going to have to pay $2,751 for a 2.69 rate. And the next rate after that in this example is 2.5%. You're going to have to pay $4,403 for this rate, this lowest rate in this example. Now, which option is the best? Let's run the numbers, and the numbers are going to help us decide. Got my little cheat sheet here. So in the first example, we're going to go from, so let's right now skip this. We're not going to look at the difference between 3.5 and 2.99. The reason is, it's pretty simple that I would rather have a smaller payment and get paid more to take a smaller payment. It does not logical for me to have a higher payment and get paid less. Doesn't make any sense. So really, no one's going to take this option. This option is the minimum option and below. So what we're going to do is, a first example, we're going to look at the difference in 2.99 and 2.69. What is the rate and difference in payment? And what is the difference in cost? Because this is the cost up front to buy the points. Okay, so a 2.99 rate cost $1,473.73. $1,382.93 is your 2.69 rate. That's $90.80 a month times 12 equals $1,089.60. $1,089.60 is how much you're going to save in 1 year by having the 2.69 rate compared to the 2.99 rate. That is your annual savings. Now we see here in this example, we have they're going to pay you $1,400 to get the 2.99 rate, but you have to pay $2,751 for the 2.69 rate. The difference between these two is $4,211.50. That's how much you have to pay, $4,211, to save this $1,089.60 a year. What does that mean? Correction. This is actually the wrong rate. That's what I get for scribbling. I put the wrong rate because I actually put this rate down here. So it's actually $1,473 for the 2.99 rate. The 2.69 rate is actually $1,417.75. The monthly savings is $55.98. So the annual savings is $671.76. The cost is $4,211.50. So again, between 2.99 to 2.69, the savings is $671 a year. The cost for going from 2.99 to 2.69 is $4,211. The return on investment for that is $15.96%. So 16% is your return on investment for choosing to go from 2.99 to 2.69. That is your return on investment. So what you have to think is, for this to be a good deal, you have to keep the property for at least 7 years. That's roughly your return on investment. 7 years is how long you'd have to keep it. Now, in this example, I normally don't like those odds. Personally, to keep it for 7 years, so the odds are this. For a person to, the statistics are, an average individual is either going to refinance or sell their home every 5 to 7 years. So if that is the statistics and you're going to have a 7-year recoup period, then the odds are probably not in your favor that you're going to keep the home longer than that. Now, I think things are going to change a little bit. With rates as low as they are, 2.99, 2.69, and in 5 years from now, I don't think rates are going to be this low. The odds are that there's probably a good amount of people that are going to start staying in their home longer than 7 years. So you're going to have to measure that and determine if that's going to be your situation. So let's go through another example. Let's see, if you are a person, you're like, you know what, I'm going to be in this home for a very long time. I'm going to keep this rental property for a very long time. Let me run this scenario. Let me see what the difference is between 2.69 and 2.5. And this is very unique, this situation here. You're going to see something very weird where it's very interesting. So So 2.69 rate is 14. I'm going to get a different marker because this marker is not doing that well. $14, $17, $75. The 2.5 rate is $13.82.93. That's $34.82 times 12. In a year, that's $417.84. Now, some people would say $400 a year is not a lot of money. But you got to remember, all of these things add up and become something significant over time. The difference between a 2.69 rate and a 2.5 rate is $1,652 one time. That's a 25% return. 25.29% return. 25.29% return. Where can you spend $1,652 and make 25% return guaranteed for the next 30 years? Honestly, I really don't know. There's very few places that can give you that type of guarantee. Warren Buffett just looks for a 15% return when he's making a decision on if he should buy a company or not. Can he consistently make 15%? In this decision, you're consistently making 25% return. And if you keep the property for 30 years, you're guaranteed to make this return. Now, the interesting part here is that's between 2.69 and 2.5. But between 2.99 and 2.69, it wasn't that good. It was around 16%. So let's run one more scenario. Let's run another scenario from 2.99 to 2.5. Let's see what that matters. Because the reality is this. When you're looking at a loan, you're looking at between this and this, 2.99 and 2.69. That right there is about 16%. Between these two, the middle number and the low number is about 25%. That normally does not happen. Let me tell you, we are in very unique times. It is not normal for us to go through, get lower in the numbers and actually get a better return. That's very rare. So we're going to run one last set of numbers, which is between 2.99 and 2.5. Okay? All right, 2.99. At 2.99, we're looking at 14.73.73. At 2.5, it's 13.82.93. That's 90.80 for the year times 12 months equals $1,089.60. $1,089.60 a year is what your savings is by buying down the rate from 2.99 to 2.5. The difference between those two is $5,813.50. That is an 18.74% return on investment. If you pay $5,813 one time in this scenario, you will save $1,089.60 a year for the next 30 years. That's an 18.74% return annualized. And basically, it's about 5.5 years before you get a return on your investment. When you look at the big picture in this scenario, if you're planning to stay in the home longer than 5 years, especially if you can roll in the cost of your closing costs, I think this is a good situation to be in, a good position. A big factor, in addition to the fact that you're going to make your money back in 5.5 years, you're going to annualize almost a 19% return on that decision. You're going to have a lower monthly payment. Your DTI is lower. And why is that important? Because when you're looking to get more loans, more properties, your DTI is one of the biggest factors that is holding you back from getting additional properties. So the more that you can lower your monthly payment, the better the chance, the more you increase your odds of getting more properties in the future. Know your numbers. And if you aren't the best number person, real estate's still a great business because relationships and decor and proper investing in great areas and salesmanship is very important. They can actually beat the numbers person, but it doesn't hurt to have a numbers person on your team. So if you guys have any questions, need help with loans, or need help with financing, let me know. I'll be happy to help. So now, I'm ready for questions. If you guys have any questions, let me know regarding this or anything else. I think this is a great situation because, again, the other point is that you can roll in your closing costs. When you're rolling in your closing costs, you actually didn't take any money out of your own pocket to save an extra $1,000 a year. And this $1,000 a year isn't the question of, hey, am I saving this much money compared to my current mortgage? This is only comparing how much additional savings you would save from 2.99 to 2.5. But if your current mortgage is 4.5, 4.25, I have someone right now that has a 3.75 rate, and I'm refinancing down to a 2.69 rate. In that scenario, the return is significant compared to all the costs associated for the loan. The recoup period is 3 years. 3 years is how long it's going to take them to get back their money. That's a 33% return on investment. It's very rare to find a guaranteed return of 33% on your money for the next 30 years. And right now, we're given this opportunity because the economy is so bad that the government wants to find ways to give the American people ways to save money and to have more cash flow, more money in their pocket, and more money to spend. Got a question here on YouTube. Griffin says, do you work in Pennsylvania? Currently, I do not work in Pennsylvania, but we're going to be working on eventually working in every state in the country. So right now we're in Florida, New Jersey, we'll be in Texas and California soon. Any questions? Actually, you can flip it around now, Jez.
Wait, hold on. Somebody's about to catch these hands.
Why?
Here, answer some questions.
Cash out refi or leave the equity? Me, how I do it, I'm 100% cash out refi. Now, when you have a loan, let's just say you have a rental property that is 65% loan to value, and you're thinking about doing a cash out refi. In that scenario where you're 65% loan to value, it's usually not a good scenario to do a cash out refi. The reason being, again, you need to run the numbers to verify this, but the reason being is when you're, say, have a $400,000 property and you're at 65% loan to value, the max cash out refi right now for a Fannie Freddie deal is about 70%. So 5% of 400 grand is like, $20,000. Well, if you flip your loan from rate and term to cash out refi, that's like $5,000 more in fees. So you're paying $5,000 for the opportunity to get 20. That's 25% to get that money year one. That's a huge amount of money. And it's very rare for you to have a valid reason to get that money out. Is it possible? Yes. But it's extremely rare for it to make sense. Now, I'm also doing a cash out refinance personally on one of my properties, but the property's worth $550,000. I only owe $289,000. So when I do the cash out refi, yeah, I'm paying $5,000 more, but I'm going to get about $100,000 out on this deal. So for me, it's worth to pay $5,000 to get $100,000 and then only owe 2.69% on that money for the next 30 years. I can make that money move. And normally I annualize that initial points up front over a 5-year period. So I'm making that 2.69 rate, really a 3.69 rate over a 5-year period. And if I hold the property longer than that, then it'd be 2.69 from there. And again, most of my deals, I make 25% return on my money. So even though initially I'm paying 5.69 and then the following year is 2.69, when I'm making 25% of my money, it doesn't matter. The return is still good. So I am normally cash out refi. I'm team cash out refi. I am not team, what's that guy's name? Your mom listens to? He's always like, pay off your debt. That guy. Yeah, I don't pay off debt. Don't have credit card debt, right? If you're paying interest on credit cards, it's bad. But if you got a car loan that's like under 5, under 4, don't worry about it. Home loan, low interest, don't worry about it. Use the money to purchase other assets. We're going to go through a hyperinflationary period. How do I know this? Because the Fed already told us. They told us what we're going to do. So when most people say the game is rigged, it's not fair, that's because they're not paying attention. They told us they're going to raise rates, lower rates. They told us they're going to accept inflation. So if before we were at minimum 2%, from what they're saying, but real inflation was higher than that. Now they're willing to be above 2%. So real inflation is going to go through the roof. I don't know if you guys are real estate investors, but if any real estate investors are out there that's doing constructions, everyone knows in the last 6 months, the cost of wood tripled. It's $8 for a 2x4x8 pressure treated piece of wood. $8. 6 months ago, it was like $3. So the cost to build, I bought my office 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. I paid $400,000 and that's about another like 30, 40 grand to fix it up. Today, it's worth $950,000. That's the replacement cost on this building. Now you're thinking, Pascal, office buildings aren't worth anything right now. What do you mean it's worth more money? Big office buildings are not. I bought a medical office building because medical, doctors, dentists, they're going to need these buildings. They have plumbing in all my walls. It's a very desired property in the office building world in a great location. To rebuild my property, because I'm actually working on building some more for other doctors and dentists, it costs $950,000 to replace my building. A doctor wants to buy my building now. So I could potentially make $500,000 on this sale. The issue is, if I do that, where am I going to go? I now have to find another office building. I have to go rent somewhere else. But the point is, options are available for those who buy properties and wait, buy real estate and wait. Now, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to sell the building, rent from her, and then wait for the office buildings to tank, non-medical office buildings, and pick them up for like 50 cents on the dollar, 25 cents on the dollar. So that's my plan. So that's the plan. All right, let's answer some more questions. I want to answer some more questions. What do we got, Jez?
Let's see. Bretosaurus says, I have a property that I pay losses for property fees. I'm making $100K a year. Isn't it a good to take a loss so I don't have to get taxed on the property? Get taxed a ton?
Okay.
What do you recommend?
So what I would say is this, Brett. If you have a property right now and your cash flow is negative and you got to pay money out of pocket for this property, I'm going to say it's a bad idea, because there's properties that I have that are cash flow positive, right? We're making money to our pocket, making money that we can spend every month. But on paper, it's break even or negative. Imagine you owned a stock, Apple, Amazon, Tesla, Exxon, whatever it is, and they're paying you a dividend. And when they're paying you a dividend, you got to pay income tax on that money. But imagine instead you own a piece of real estate that's worth something, and they're giving you money every month, a dividend, which is rent payment. And that's money you can spend every month. The stock, you have to pay tax on. On the real estate, if you do the tax return properly, you won't have to pay tax on that rental income. And at some points, if you're done properly, if you do cost segregation programs and things like that, you can actually have a loss on paper, yet still be cash flow positive without actually spending any money out of your pocket. You're not spending money to get that negative figure on your tax return. You're making money and having a negative figure on your tax return. Which option do you want? So if I have the choice of the two, I wouldn't lose money every month like you are today just to have a negative figure on my tax return. I'm going to make money like I'm doing today and have a negative figure on my tax return. So let's be smart. Let's not, there's a saying in real estate. We do not make real estate decisions for tax consequences. We buy a property only for the quality of the property. All the extra of the tax benefits the government gives us are extras. You don't make a decision just for tax reasons. Next question.
They're still taking it all in. The questions from
Absorbing it.
Okay.
How will Biden affect the market if he gets elected? Okay. Huh? What? Anyway, so how will it affect the market? Okay, so economists have done this. They said this is a very good scenario short term if it's Democrat president, Democrat House, and Democrat Senate, right? Because they're all Democrats, they're all going to agree together, and they're going to pass through a lot of stuff. And when it's assumed that they're going to pass through a lot of stimulus, right? That's their assumption. Is they're going to put through a lot of stimulus. The issue is short term, it's going to benefit. But long term, it's not going to help because additional taxes, the money that's given in the stimulus is going to be spent, is going to be gone. After all that money's gone, people are not going to have money. And then the after effect from that is there going to be a lot of taxes that are owed, right? There's going to be increase in individual taxes and corporate taxes, and that's going to actually hurt the economy. So initially it's going to go up, and then it's going to go down hard. That is the assumption if Biden gets elected and they have the House and the Senate. Now, second option is Biden gets elected, they have the Congress, but they don't have the Senate. It's not going to be as great because it's going to be harder for them to get things through. Next option is if Trump gets elected and we have Republican, right? Presidential, House, and Senate. Initially, we might have a flat line, just like as if Biden had the presidency, not the Senate, but has Congress. In that scenario, they're both going to be about the same. But long term, Trump is estimated to be more successful because the taxes. Because if we already have an economy where people don't have money, they also don't have money to pay extra taxes, which is going to be a burden on the economy. So in this scenario, if Biden gets elected, it's unlikely that he's going to have the House and the Senate. It's not really going to do much. And the additional taxes that he said he's going to put through is going to be a burden on the economy. So long term, year 2 in office, things are going to go down. We'll see what happens, right? It's all what ifs. All right. Andrea says, can you share with us what you think about the NACA program? I don't know what the NACA program is. Aaron says, any suggestions on a 15-year refinance? I don't suggest a 15-year refinance. We have the lowest money, the cheapest money like in history, right? A 30-year refinance right now, I just told you, is 2.5%. A 15-year refinance is like what, 1.99%? And that's with paying roughly the same amount of points. 0.5%. Bro, We're going to go through a hyperinflationary period. So in that scenario where we're going to have hard assets going up in cost, why do you want to save 0.5% in interest when if you buy a piece of real estate, we're probably going to have we have an annual average of 7% return. Or but 3 to 7% return. The markets I buy in, it's 7% return. The stock market has an average of 7% return. Why are you focused on saving 0.5%? You should be focused on making 7%. The issue is when people get hurt and they become disabled, it's not that I wish I paid off more debt. That extra $1,000 that they owe a month is not what hurts them. It's the fact that if they did pay off the $1,000, okay, that's nice, but they don't have any income coming in. It'd be better for you to focus on trying to bring in $2,000 to $3,000 a month in passive income than for you to pay down $1,000 a month in passive income. Now, in your scenario, it might be that you're paying $2,000 a month for your loan or $3,000 a month. In that same scenario, multiply the income amount. The point is, you should be focusing on increasing your cash flow, increasing your net worth, increasing your assets, not paying down debt that is basically free. Remember, these loans are under inflation rate. They're basically free. They're giving you this money away. Next question.
Lorenzo asked, any areas in Tampa you would recommend purchasing a residential property in, one that you think has a lot of potential growth to increase in value, new to the area? He's new.
Okay, so one, as you know, I do not like condos, townhouses, or homes as an investment. So I would not look at it. Homes aren't not investments, okay? They're a place you live. They're a place you should want to live in, okay? So with that said, if you live in like the new Tampa area, if you live in what's that one area called where like everything's like the happening area right now?
Safety Harbor?
No, Tampa.
Oh, Tampa?
Like the by the water and where Liho lives. So anyway, like the new Tampa area by God, what's it called? Basically, downtown Tampa. If you're gonna buy in Tampa, buy in downtown Tampa or one of the close suburbs around downtown Tampa. You're gonna want to be in those areas. Okay?
Bayshore?
Like Bayshore and all the surrounding downtown Tampa areas. That's where it's going to be the best return on investment. Excuse me. And again, always you make your money in the buy. So don't go and buy a $400,000 home in downtown Tampa that's worth $400,000. You're going to wait forever for you to build equity then. You want to make sure that you're making money in the buy. You're buying something undervalued. Either you need to fix it up or do something like that to build value, build equity. Otherwise, just go rent somewhere that you really like and use that money to invest with someone else to make a return on investment. Because if it's, again, single family condos and townhouses have almost no return on investment. I've ran the number thousands of times. Roughly the return on investment is like 3%. So if people are like, oh, it's not worth it, I'd rather pay off my loan than do an investment. Correct. If you're investing in single family homes and you're having a 3% return on investment and the interest is 3%, then yeah, it's a break even. But if you're doing multi-units like I am and my passive investors make like 8% annualized on our stabilized properties, that's triple the return or almost triple. Hugo says, do you pay taxes for the money you cash out in a refinance? No, you do not pay taxes on a cash out refinance. A cash out refinance is basically you're taking money that is debt, and debt is not income. So there is no cash out. There is no debt. There is no tax on a cash out refinance. Now, this is the next question. Let's just say you sell that property and you don't buy any additional property. Because if you buy additional property, there is multiple ways for you to defer your taxes on that sale to another property. But let's just say you bought a property for $200,000. That property went up to 500 grand, like my fourplex. I bought it for 180, and now 4 units in my area go for like 800. And I do a cash out refi for 500. And eventually I sell it at 800 after taxes and fees and association and blah, 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 and realtor fees and whatever. I get 700 of the 800. So 700 is the amount that I'm getting minus my cost of purchasing 180. So I'm making 520. 520 is my profit. But some people might say, well, I'm only walking with 200 grand. I'm being taxed at 520. That's correct. Because you never were taxed in the past for your cash out refi. Even though when you sell the property later and you're only getting, say, 200 grand, you still have to pay tax on the 500 grand because you cashed out refi the other 300 in the past. The point is, have your tax professional. So again, I have an accounting firm. When we're reviewing this information for our clients, we strategize prior to the sale to know that, hey, okay, this is a taxable consequence. This is where you're looking, your tax liability is going to be. We need to strategize to make sure that you're making the right moves in the future to avoid having to pay tax on this 500 grand. You know what? Let's do something that's going to defer this tax to the future, and let's reinvest this money into something else. So be focused, pay attention. Initially, you don't pay tax, but you can owe tax on that money later. Next question.
Nonstop Stop Pro says, what to do if I have capital but no idea where to invest it?
So first thing I always say is study your market. What does that mean? If you're going to flip cars, you're going to buy used cars and resell them, understand what the cars are worth. And understand what they're worth in each situation, meaning in the position of it being dirty or broken compared to being clean and new. You have to understand this. Same thing with properties. If you're going to buy properties that are beat up, know what they're worth in that condition. And if you're going to buy them or resell them in a clean turnkey position, you're going to know what the value is at that point. So know your market so you know what the value of all the assets are at all times. Okay. Lastly, same thing with stocks, bonds, options, silver, gold. Know your market. Know what it's worth, right? If you know what it's worth, then you won't overpay. Most people, the problem they have when they invest, they overpay. The good thing about real estate is that if you wait long enough, usually you end up turning to be right. What does that mean? If you overpaid on a property in 2004, 2006, if you waited till today, most of those properties today would be considered a good deal compared to what you have to pay today. So in real estate, at least, if you wait long enough, you end up, you look good eventually. Mike says, how did you get started? How long it take you to figure this stuff out? So Mike, at the age of 14, I heard that you could buy a property. Now me, I was 14 and I was like, wow, you could buy a person could buy a property? You're not some huge company or the government that owns these properties? So a person can buy these properties. Then I was very interested. Then I found out that the government will give you a loan of 80% of the property's value. You only have to come up with 20% of it. And that was surprising to me. I was like, wait, I only got to come up with 20% of the money? The government comes up with 80 of it? Because Fannie Freddie's backed by the government. That was amazing to me as well. And then lastly, when I heard that people will pay you to borrow the property, and the amount of money they're going to pay you is more than the taxes, the insurance, the mortgage, the maintenance, everything. And you make a profit, and then the property goes up in value, and you get to keep all the profit and the bank doesn't want any of the profit for that deal. I didn't believe it. I was like, that's not real. How are you going to make all the money and they're not going to get anything of it, yet they take up 80% of the risk? So when I found that out, because back then I collected like Pokemon cards and baseball cards and all that stuff. And I was like, it was hard for me to get more cards, more things to collect, because I had to sell something or trade something to get that something better. But with real estate, you don't have to do that. You can get loans to get another and another and expand your portfolio and collect more and more property. For me, I collect properties. And I don't just like care about buying any property. I like buying rare properties, really cool properties that I can be proud to say, I own that property. Yeah, I own the property in that area where it's really hard to get a property. So once I figured that out, it was around 14, I understood the basics, the very, very basics of it. I then spent 5 years going out and understanding the construction, understanding leasing, understanding credit, understanding the finance part of it, understanding tax returns. I legit went out before YouTube and all that stuff to go and figure this out. I got multiple mentors. I actually had to drive and see people. I had to work for them for free or pay people money to get this information. And then I pieced it all together. I started working at the bank, and then I bought my first duplex. A year later, I bought my next duplex. 6 months later, I bought my first 7-unit. Then I bought another, and another. By the age of 23, I owned 23 units. So I have a course, it's called Foundations of Personal Finance. In that course, it teaches you all the things that I learned to get me to 23 units by the age of 23. And it teaches you credit, tax returns, savings, investing strategies, all this stuff. It's like 8 hours of videos. And I think right now it's like $497. And the purpose of that course is to teach everybody to learn what I learned, so they can figure out how to buy a third, fourth, fifth property, or their first property if they don't have one already. And then by the time they figure it all out and they're ready to buy deals, they can come to me. I'll be able to get them the loan, most likely, as long as they follow the things I taught. You have to actually apply what I'm teaching you. And then I'll credit you back the cost of the course. So it really doesn't cost anything for people that are action. They take action. And for anyone who gets a loan from me that hasn't purchased the course, I end up giving them the course for free. Just saying, oh, okay, you haven't taken the course yet? Well, thanks for getting a loan with me. We appreciate you giving us business. Here's the course. You can have it, learn, expand, grow, go out there and get 23 units like me. And if you're wondering, I was up to like 35, 37 units, and I just sold a whole bunch of units, scaling back, building up my cash position so I can start going out and buying bigger deals. I want to start buying 10, 20, 50, 100 unit projects once they start coming available. Hopefully next May. I think next May we're going to start seeing some deals.
Justin asks, are there good properties that just go unnoticed?
Yes, all the time. A lot of times, I solicit people who are not for sale. So the deals that I've been telling you guys about that I'm negotiating currently, they're not on the market. And I think they're good deals. So do they go unnoticed? Yeah. Remember, the MLS is what's a retail marketplace. You don't have to go retail. You can solicit people that are not even for sale. And a lot of times you'll find good deals. Part 2. A lot of the properties I bought that are amazing properties, I bought them when no one else wanted to buy in the area. I knew it was a good area, so I bought them. Others did not. They didn't realize it. They didn't see the value and potential. And because of that, I bought the 7-unit property for $335,000. Today, it's worth like $1.4 million. I bought the house next door for $200,000 2 or 3 years ago. Today, it's worth like $500,000. It's, other people could have done this. Other people could have solicited them, but they didn't. You get benefits for taking action. You get benefits for taking risk, right? There's a risk reward. So if you're out there taking risks, spending your time, trading your time to make phone calls, so you don't always have to spend money, right? You can risk your time for a return. So you can go and do that as well to try to find deals, not just spend money. So a lot of options out there. And
Justin continues.
mhm.
Is it realistic that a new investor can find and win the bid?
I bought my first property at 19.
What can the Fed do to prevent the housing crisis?
They can't.
Need more questions.
So if people are like, they can't. Let's put it like this. Back in 2015, I said there was going to be a crisis. You guys didn't know me back in 2015. But for those that are the hardcore basketball caucus fans, I got some out there, really solid people out there. You know, they like every comment. I mean, they like every post, everything, and I appreciate it. I love you guys. They know last year, August, I put out a video. It's on IG right now. So go back to last August. I had someone asked to come. He's a VP of an insurance company. So he asked me to come because he wanted to understand how I do business. I had a meeting with him, and he asked me questions regarding the market, real estate, and everything. I told him back last August, I told him, be careful of real estate. Be very, very careful on what you're going to buy because the market's going to go down. Prior to COVID, prior to everything. What's happening now is not COVID related. COVID pricked the bubble. There was a bubble prior to COVID. We had record high amount of people in this country. 70% of people in this country could not cover a $400 emergency in 2019. A $400 emergency. Yet we had some of the lowest unemployment in history. That means if we have just a slight downtick in unemployment, many people are going to default on their loans. Our profit margins are very thin in most businesses in this country. So if there's people not working and they can't spend, that's going to make multiple businesses default. Back in 2018, the Fed had to start lowering rates because mid-sized companies couldn't afford to expand more debt. And if they couldn't afford to expand and get more debt, they would have failed, which means multiple people would have lost their jobs. So they had to lower interest rates just so they can cover their debt. So we're in the best economy. We have to lower debt so people can stay in business. We have record high employment so people can't pay their bills. We have increasing debt. Now you're going to say, Pascal, it shows that currently we have reduced debt in this country. I'm not going to disagree with that. There is a lot of individuals who are very David Ramsey in style, but those are very few and far between. Those are called the middle class, which is also going to get crushed. I'm sorry to say that. The David Ramsey style will keep you even, but you're still going to get crushed because hyperinflation is going to wipe you out. So if you don't invest, you're going to get wiped out. And for the other group of people who are the low-income individuals, they're getting wiped out because the amount of debt that they have is all bad debt. So if you have a lot of bad debt, you're going to do very bad. If you have no debt, you're going to be middle class, but you're still going to get crushed. The people who are going to do successful are individuals that have good debt. It's kind of like saying fat is bad for you. But if I said, is an avocado bad for you? You'd be like, no, avocado is amazing for you. But that's fat. It's all fat, but it's good fat. So there's good debt. There's good fat. You got to think of it like that. So hopefully that answers your question.
Someone asked, where should I start so I can learn about real estate? I'm new to this.
So it really depends what you mean by where do I start? Like, are you ready to become an investor? Are you ready to pull the trigger and go out and do deals? If you're saying yes, then you should take my course. But if you're saying no and you're like, I just want to fiddle around with stuff than go on to Zillow and just look at houses and do that for 10 years and never pull the trigger. It depends what you mean by, because I meet tons of people that say, oh, I'm going to do it. And then 10 years later, they did nothing. They don't own their own house. They don't own anything. They don't invest. So you got to think, am I going to do it? Then you have to go out and do it. It's scary. I'm going to tell you, it wasn't easy at 19. The whole time I was like, did I make the right decision? And I'll tell you, I didn't. I overpaid a lot for that property. But along the way, I learned a lot. And eventually I sold it and made a lot of money. So, but if you have the determination, you'll be able to become successful.
Do they need to go to college to learn this stuff?
No. You don't need a license either. Don't ask. I'm not a realtor. I've bought so many properties from people directly and sold them directly without a realtor. You do not need a realtor if you're buying and selling your own properties.
Just King James asked, I have two properties, one at 15-year loan at 4.2% and another for a 30-year loan at 3.8 FHA, paying PMI. What's your best advice on what I should do with both?
So I don't have one. It's going to be very hard for you to get another property because when you have a 15-year loan, the payment is very high. So one, I would refinance it and get it in a loan in the 2% range. Two, I would get a 30-year loan so I could significantly drop the payment. Now your payment is almost half of what it was before. So your debt to income ratio is very, very strong and you'll be able to buy more properties. Two, I'll probably refinance the other property as well and try to get rid of your PMI. I had one person that bought a property last year. I just did a refinance for them. And they didn't get rid of their PMI, but they dropped their PMI so low that they're now saving over $200 a month on their payment. And that's with rolling in all the costs to the loan. So no money out of the pocket and they're saving $200 a month. So that's a great return. No, they're more than that. I think one guy was $200 a month. Another guy was like $380 a month. So again, some people's PMI is like $225 a month. I was able to drop that guy's PMI from 225 to like 30. And then I was able to lower his interest rate as well. So between the two, it was about $380 a month savings with rolling in all the costs to the loan. So no money out of pocket. So again, reduce your expenses, increase your cash flow. And I would not go with a 15-year loan. Does not make sense for the business model, right? Unless you're like 65 years old or 60 years old, maybe you could do that, which still I don't think is good because it's too risky because the 15-year loan eats up so much of your cash flow that if you lose a tenant, you got to pay money out of pocket. Where in a 30-year loan, you have more flexibility to cover expenses. Normally a 15-year loan, this is why I dislike it. Really simple. Let's just say you have a 30-year loan and your payment is $2,000 a month. A 15-year loan, the interest rate is not going to be very much less. It is $3,000 a month. So you have almost no difference in interest, but you're paying $3,000 a month on a 15-year. That $1,000 extra is basically just all principal payment. You're not saving much in interest between the two options. So you're telling me that I'm going to make a promise to pay $3,000 a month so I could pay the loan off faster? But you're not really giving me much of a benefit for making that decision? Well, how about this? How about I just go and get a 30-year loan, and when I feel like it, I'll pay an extra $1,000 a month. I'm not going to be required. So if I lose a tenant, lose a job, anything bad happens, I'm not forced to pay an extra $12,000 a year. When I feel like I'll make an extra $12,000 a year. And in both scenarios, in 15 years, I'm basically done. Maybe the 30-year loan is going to be a little bit higher interest. Okay. In 17 years, I'll be done. But it's worth the flexibility to know that if things go bad, I don't have to pay extra money. I can pull things back and be able to save money or be able to not have that high debt amount. That's the difference.
So he's asking, should he refinance and pull out the money because he has equity on both the properties?
As I said earlier, it depends how much equity you have, if it makes sense for you to do a cash out. Sometimes it's better to do a home equity line of credit. It depends. I would have to run the numbers to figure it out. What I'm going to say to you is DM me, let me know. We're going to figure something out and see what's good for you, okay? So just send me a message and I'll run the numbers.
Let me see here. Temi asked why I'm skipping his questions, but I don't see your questions, Temi. Another one asks, do you recommend buying a duplex at a fair value in today's market?
Fair? No. It would have to be an amazing market, and it would have to be a good or great price, not fair.
How much money should I be making already to even get started on buying properties and getting loans on properties?
Jez, how much money did I make an hour at the gas station when I started buying real estate?
Probably pretty minimum wage.
I was making $8 an hour, and I was working at the bank making $10 an hour. So my main job was $10 an hour. My side hustle was $8 an hour. By the time I bought my second property, I was making $12 an hour at the bank. So don't think you need crazy money. The amount of money you have is not what matters in the deal. It's the deal that matters. And then savings. Because if you have a problem with saving money, then you have a savings problem.
Another question. When do you recommend to fix a termite problem?
Very soon. Because if you have the flying termites, the airborne termites, they eat slow. If you have subterranean termites, they eat fast. So that little problem could be very bad and spread. So it's better for you to spot treat immediately. So spot treating is a foam. You drill little tiny holes and then you spray foam in there, and that foam will try to kill the termites. But if you keep on seeing it, you're gonna have to tent the whole house and probably do or if they're subterranean, you have to do the ground penetrating gel to try to kill them that way. So I got a question here on YouTube. Griffin says, do you originate loans for properties you own? I can. Yes, I can do that. I'm not allowed to make commissions on any of the loans, but I am allowed to originate loans for myself.
How does cashing out work versus Heloc?
So on a cash out refi, you're basically fixing the interest rate and you're fixing the payment over a period of time. On a Heloc, the interest rate varies. And if you're good at getting the right Heloc, some Helocs are interest in principal. And sometimes the interest in principal payments are actually very high. They're 1.5% of the whole balance. But then again, you can also get Helocs that are interest only. And so depending on the type of Heloc you get will change the payment per month. But again, Helocs, interest varies. It goes up and it can go up and down. So you have to be very careful about that because you don't know what's going to happen with interest rates. Personally, if I have enough equity, a significant amount of equity, I prefer doing a cash out refi and locking in the payment, locking in the rate, and not worry about the Heloc. And then on an owner-occupied property, after I do that, I'll normally get a Heloc after that as well and go to 100% loan to value. This way, I'm basically treating this property like I'm renting it, but I own it. So I get all the appreciation, I get the tax write-offs as well.
Where can I purchase your course?
On IG, it's available in the homepage. On the top section, you'll be able to purchase the course there.
There's a link to purchase it from your Instagram?
Yeah, on the homepage. There's a link on my Instagram homepage.
What bank should I go get the line of credit off the two properties?
So one, you're probably not going to be able to get a home equity line of credit on the two properties because you cannot get a home equity line of credit on an investment property, only on your primary residence. Two, You should not do that first. First, you should do a refinance of your first mortgage, then do the home equity line of credit. Because based off the interest rates you told me you're paying, and based off the fact that you have PMI, you should be refinancing them first, then get the home equity line of credit. Because what's going to happen is by you doing it, and if you do it right, your payment on your first mortgage is going to go down so much that if you do get, say, $50,000 on a home equity line of credit, the payment on the home equity line of credit is going to be less than the amount that you saved on your refi. So you're basically now having $50,000 cash, but the same monthly payment because you refinanced the first and then got the home equity line of credit. And it will also make it easier for you to qualify for the second loan, the home equity line of credit. So you have to keep your debt to income ratio in mind. So again, DM me, I'll run the numbers to figure out what you need to do to lower your payment on your first mortgage so it makes it easier for you to get the home equity line of credit.
Oh, this is a different guy. He says he has no mortgage. They're all paid off.
They're all paid off. So this is the thing. You cannot get a home equity line of credit at a decent interest rate on your investment property. There is some private banks that will give you a blanket home equity line of credit and secured over multiple properties. But I think that's a really bad idea. Why would you have one home equity line of credit covering multiple properties? So if you default on one, they take everything. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I'd rather get a refinance on one, do cash out, and then get a home equity line of credit on the property you live on. But again, if you have no loan on it, I'll do a cash out refi and just take the cash, sit on it. FYI, the second the market tanks, the home equity line of credits dry up. What does that mean? My dad had a $150,000 home equity line of credit, roughly. That was how much it was 15 years ago. Back in 2008. I told him, Dad, I know people at the bank. They called me and they told me we're shutting down home equity line of credits. If you need money in that account, take it out now because tomorrow they're shutting these home equity line of credits down. I called everybody I knew, let them know. My dad's like, oh, I don't need the money. I said, take it. You're going to need it later. No, I don't need the money. I don't want to pay interest on it. What happened? A year later, shit was free. And he didn't have money to buy anything because he was too cheap to pull the money out and pay interest for 1 year. Because they're going to shrivel the home equity line of credit. That $150 line of credit went down to like $30,000. Basically the amount of money that he had owed on it.
Is $40,000 to $50,000 enough to start investing?
Yes.
All
right, guys, I got to answer a couple more questions. We've been on for like an hour and 8 minutes so far. I love you guys. I'm going to answer a few more questions and then we're going to call it a night.
I'm 19. I have a 752 credit score. Should I get a loan from a bank to pay off the balance and just pay the bank monthly? The bank will charge me lower than 15.96. I don't know if that's a loan, like hard money loan, or what kind of loan is 15.96%.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what 15.96%, what you're paying that on. If you have a 750 credit score, it doesn't make any sense. If it is on a property, you should do a refinance with the bank and get a 2-point-something rate, or call me. I'm a broker. I'll be able to get you a rate probably in the twos.
Oh, it's a car.
Oh, in a car.
He owes $5,400.
So, yeah, try to do it with a credit union. When you only owe $5,000 on a car loan, you have to go with a credit union because normally when you're under $7,000 on a car loan, very few regular banks can do it because it just costs them too much money and they're not going to make enough money for it to make sense. But I would go to a credit union, do a refi, get something in the lower interest rates, and yeah, save money.
How many times can you refinance in a year?
In a year, I think you're allowed to do it every 6 months to 12 months, depending on which bank you go to.
Have you ever had a mold problem on
Yes.
your properties? How did you fix it?
Get rid of the mold.
How much did that cost? Could
Could be as cheap as $50, could be as cheap as $5,000. it's really, or I've heard it be as expensive as $100,000. How? If the mold is behind your kitchen cabinets and it's in your kitchen cabinets, you got to gut your whole kitchen. So it depends. Where is the mold? What's the problem? Let's put it like this. Termites is like mold. Get rid of it immediately because it will spread and become worse. It's like a leaky toilet or any type of leak. Leaks don't get better. They only get worse. So take care of them as soon as possible.
All right, we're almost gonna run out of batteries here, so let's do one more question. Which areas are good to invest in right now with an under $100,000 budget?
If you're paying $100,000 for a loan, $100,000 cash.
All I got, that was the question. So do both.
One, I would say this: invest in downtown cores. I think downtown core markets are going to be good, positive next 15 years. And not in primary markets. I'm talking about in secondary and tertiary markets. Other than that, don't invest, and invest in a syndicate, in a group, where they're going to be able to make you a return and you can just rent.
All right, I guess that's all the time we have for today.
Guys, remember, like, comment, share with your friends. I love you guys. For all those that need additional help, get my course, Foundations of Personal Finance. You can find the link in the bio. And again, once you're ready to get a loan, contact me. I'll help you with getting your purchase or refinance. And if you purchase the course, I'll credit you back the money for the course when you do the refi. Anyone who does a refi or a purchase that hasn't purchased the course, I'll give you the course for free as well. I want you guys to learn. I want you guys to benefit, save money on your taxes, make sure that everything is correct strategy-wise, and I want all you guys to benefit. Love you guys. God bless. I'll see you guys next time.